Along the way, marketers decided AI visibility must be a volume problem. If search is changing, if AI is summarizing, if clicks are getting siphoned off before anyone ever reaches your website, then obviously the answer is to publish more. More blog posts, more social posts, more videos, more newsletters, more thought leadership, more. It feels productive. It looks productive. It gives everyone something to point to in the weekly meeting. Look at how busy we are. It is also, in many cases, the same old busyness badge wearing a shiny new AI bedazzled outfit. AI visibility is not a race to publish more. It is not a contest to see who can flood the internet with the most words in the shortest amount of time. And it is definitely not a game of turning one decent idea into 47 mediocre assets just so your content calendar looks healthy. We have already built an entire work culture around speed as virtue, volume as accomplishment, and visible activity as substance. AI did not invent that pressure. It just handed it a faster engine. So now, instead of asking, is it useful? Is it credible? Does it actually say something worth repeating? Too many teams are asking, how quickly can we get the gist up and move on? Too many leaders are saying, get more done with less. That might help you hit a publishing cadence, for sure. It does not help you become the obvious answer, which is what we're trying so hard to do with AI. Because in an AI-shaped market, the issue is not whether you produced the content. The issue is whether you produced content that's clear enough, consistent enough, structured enough, and credible enough to be trusted. By humans, yes, of course, but also by the machines that are increasingly shaping what those humans see first. Of course, the work many of us do every day is text-heavy, strategy-driven, and built on judgment, persuasion, audience analysis, and the ability to make meaning. It is already under pressure from people who think a prompt can replace a professional. So when we respond to that pressure by cranking out fast, generic, interchangeable content, we are, in effect, making their argument for them. We are proving we can produce volume. We are not proving strategic value. If your AI visibility strategy is just publish more faster, what you usually end up with is a lot of content that looks busy. Of course, you're busy, but says very little. It may be technically optimized. It may even be perfectly fine, but perfectly fine is no longer the standard, not when buyers are overwhelmed, skeptical, and increasingly asking AI tools to help them figure out who actually knows what they're doing. That is why this is not really a content volume problem. It is a credibility problem. And who is better suited to fix the credibility problem than us? On this week's Spin Sucks podcast episode, we'll discuss how the brands that win with both AI and humans will be the ones creating the clearest, most trustworthy, best supported story across everything they publish.
If you're a communications pro who works hard, doesn't compromise quality, and gets the job done, welcome home. We'll share our tips, tricks, and stories, and together we will change the face of PR. Spin sucks, but we don't. With the Spin Sucks podcast, here's Gini Dietrich.
Welcome back to the Spin Sucks podcast. I'm Gini Dietrich. Before we get started, I have a little tidbit for you. Did you know that if you can't finish watching right now, you can subscribe to the audio version of the show? We're on all the platforms where you get your podcasts, including Spotify and Apple, or you can subscribe to our newsletter at spinsucks.com and receive it in your inbox every Tuesday morning. So if publishing more is not the answer, then what is? It is very tempting to think AI visibility is some mysterious technical game happening behind a curtain, governed by secret prompts, algorithmic sorcery, and whatever fresh acronym someone is trying to trademark this week. GEO, AEO, SGEO, SAEO, ABCDEFGO. I made that one up. But most of the time, the answer is far less dramatic. AI systems are looking for the same things humans look for when they are trying to figure out whether you know what you're talking about, whether or not we realize it. Is this clear? Is it consistent? Is it specific? Is it backed up? And do credible sources corroborate it? That's it. Clear, consistent, specific, backed up, and is there third-party validation? The problem is that many brands still create content as if volume alone is enough to compensate for confusion. They published one thing on the website, say another in a pitch, let the leadership team describe the company 3 different ways depending on their mood that week, and then wonder why they're not showing up as the obvious answer. But if your content says one thing, your spokesperson says another, your leadership team says a third, and the rest of the web can't quite tell what you want to be known for, you don't have a visibility problem. You have a credibility problem. You have an authority problem. And this is where visibility engineering becomes useful. It forces you to stop treating all of this as disconnected activity and start treating it as a system. Not a blog strategy over there, a PR strategy over there, and some LinkedIn posting when someone remembers. A system. A system built on structured expertise. That means you know the themes you can defend. You have authority anchors you can repeat. You have proof that you can stand on, and you're saying those things often enough, clearly enough, and consistently enough that both humans and machines can connect the dots without needing a corkboard and a red string. Although I do want to be an FBI agent, so a corkboard and a red string does sound very cool, but we don't need it for this work. AI rewards the clearest brand. The end. Okay, not really the end, but it does reward the clearest brand. And that's why structure matters so much. A strong point of view buried in a messy page is not nearly as useful as one that is organized with a clear definition, a tight thesis, proof points, frequently asked questions, and key takeaways that make the meaning unmistakable. This matters more than ever because your audience is increasingly getting answers without ever visiting your website. They are getting summaries, snippets, screenshots, and recommendations pulled from whatever appears to be the most coherent across the web. Not necessarily the smartest thing, not necessarily the most nuanced thing, the clearest thing, the most reinforced thing, the thing that looks the safest to repeat. That may sound a little unfair, but honestly, it's not all that different from how people behave either. When we're overwhelmed, we do not go looking for the messiest expert in the room. We gravitate toward the source that seems to know what it means, can explain it plainly, and has the proof to back it up. I see this at home all the time. My little one will ask a question, and my husband, Thor love him, will launch into an entire dissertation complete with a history lesson. She'll look at me with big pleading eyes, and I'll simply answer the question. Could she learn more by listening to his dissertation and understanding the history behind the answer? Of course. Does she sometimes just really need the answer so she can move on? Yes. AI is doing something similar at scale, which is why this moment is not really rewarding content factories. It's rewarding the disciplined communicators, the people who can articulate a clear point of view, support it with evidence, and repeat it with enough consistency that it becomes associated with them. That kind of work is not shallow, it's not interchangeable, and it's not the same thing as producing more words faster. In fact, this is exactly where strategic communications proves its value, because the job is not just to make content. The job is to make meaning, to decide what is true, what matters, how it should be framed, what proof supports it, and how to build enough consistency around it that your expertise becomes easier to find, easier to trust, and easier to repeat. That is what AI visibility rewards. Better organized, better supported, better aligned. And once you understand that, you can stop asking how much more do we need to publish and start asking a much smarter question. Have we made it unmistakably clear who we are, what we know, and why anyone should believe us? Okay, owned media is still your foundation. Your website is your source of truth. Even if people aren't always coming there, it's still what you have to have as your source of truth. It's where you establish your definitive narrative. It's where your anchor hubs live. It's where you explain what you do, who you help, how your method works, and the evidence that supports it. It's where you build the evidence library that analysts, buyers, journalists, and AI systems can cite when they want the deeper version. But owned media has a credibility ceiling. That is not because owned content is unimportant. It is because self-published expertise is still self-published expertise. On its own, it is you talking about you on your stage with your microphone. And in a market full of polished nonsense, that's not enough. Buyers are overwhelmed. They are skeptical. They triangulate. They skim trade publications, analyst notes, newsletters, podcasts, peer conversations, and now AI tools to figure out who actually knows what they're doing. That is where earned media changes the equation. Earned is credibility transfer. It's third-party validation. It's what happens when someone outside of your organization reinforces the same themes, the same proof points, and the same points of view you have already established in your owned media. And when those things line up, you create what we've been calling corroboration loops. So that third-party credibility that creates a corroboration loop. The market starts to repeat your story back to itself. And suddenly, you're no longer just visible, you're believable. This is the difference between random coverage and actual authority. If your earned strategy is just pitch whatever feels timely this month, you might get a nice little collection of wins, but it will look like a greatest hits album with no genre. One story about a launch, one story about your CEO, one about a trend you don't own. Congrats, you're visible, but you're not building trust. You're not building credibility. The better approach is much calmer and much more strategic. Building strong anchor content on your website, attaching real humans to the ideas, and then earning proof in the players your buyers already trust. Trade outlets, associations, podcasts, analysts, creators, influencers, partners, and pull that validation back into your owned ecosystem. That is how channels stop acting like separate plans and start behaving like a visibility engine. Owned tells your story, earned validates your story. Those two have to match. And together, when they match, they make your expertise easier for both humans and AI to trust. So if AI visibility isn't about volume, what kind of content actually helps? It's not another generic how-to post that could have been written by anyone in your company or your industry. What helps is content with clear proof. Top of funnel strategy has to shift from generic how-tos to proprietary data storytelling. If you have internal usage data, customer patterns, survey results, benchmarks, implementation lessons, before and after outcomes, or a framework you actually use in the real world, you have something far more valuable than another warmed over explainer. You have something citable, meaning third-party influencers are going to cite it, which means AI systems are also going to cite it. This is also where what Noah Greenberg of Stacker calls three-level FAQs belong. Most brands answer the beginner questions. Fine, that's necessary. But recommendation engine and real buyers are often looking for the next layer down. Who is this best for? What team size does it work for? Where does it break? What kind of buyer is not a fit? What does best for XYZ actually mean? Those are the types of questions a prospective buyer asks, even if it is an impulse buy. We still want to know, does it work? If I spend $30 on this Tarte under eye concealer, does it really work? What are the results? We are still looking for it, even though it's an impulse buy. And they require judgment, critical thinking, knowing which questions to ask, curiosity, and inquiry. You know, the soft skills the robots can't reproduce, but humans need to know. That means your job now is to decide which claims are defensible, what proof supports them, what nuance belongs in the answer, and how to reduce risk for the buyer. That is exactly the kind of work too many people are underestimating right now, especially in our text-heavy, strategy-driven roles already feeling AI pressure. So no, the answer is not to produce more generic content faster. The answer is to create fewer, stronger assets with actual evidence. A proprietary data story instead of another recycled guide. A real framework instead of vague thought leadership. A three-level frequently asked questions instead of a brand polished non-answer. A copy and pastable definition. A chart with caveats, an expert quote with a clear point of view, a page that makes a buyer, editor, analyst, or the large language models think, great, I can use this. That is the content that travels. This is not the moment for a busier content calendar. It is the moment for a more disciplined one. Start by tightening your core pages. Make it painfully clear what you do, who you help, and why you are credible. Build or refresh the anchor hubs that function as your evidence library. Add the structure that helps both humans and machines understand what is there, definitions, proof points, frequently asked questions, expert voices, internal links, too long didn't read summaries, and key bullet points. Then audit your consistency. Are your leadership bios aligned with your website claims? Do your media angles reinforce the same things as your own content? Are PR, comms, and marketing operating from the same editorial logic, or are they still freelancing their way into mixed signals? Then look for proof you can publish and proof you can earn. A customer pattern, a benchmark, a clean before and after story, a bylined article grounded in an actual buyer question, a credible third-party mention that points back to your anchor content. Repurposing content, so take content that you've already created and repurpose it to death, over reinvention is the right instinct here. One strong webinar can become a blog post, social post, a short video, frequently asked questions updates, media pitches, and emails without ever losing the thread. Most of all, stop asking, how much more do we need to publish? Ask a better question. Have we made it unmistakably clear who we are, what we know, and why anyone should believe us? This is where you should spend your time today. AI visibility is not about publishing more. It is about being more credible. And the brands that win will not be the loudest ones. They will be the ones with the most clear point of view, the strongest proof, and the most corroborated story across every single place that decisions get made. If you want more ideas on how to engineer your visibility, join us in the SpinSucks community. It's a great place to get advice, brainstorm ideas, and build real relationships with your peers. You can find us at spinsucks.com/community. That's spinsucks.com/community. And make sure you follow us on LinkedIn, TikTok, and Instagram. We're posting tips, how-tos, cheat sheets, best practices, and more every week. I'll see you next week. Bye.